Hello my dear learners, welcome to my channel. In this video series, we are learning the Java programming language with practical demonstration. In the previous video, we learned about exception class, call a method from a try block, null pointer exception and finally block practically. To learn that concept, please watch my previous video. Now, in this video, we will learn about try block without catch and finally block and interrupted exception with practical demonstration. This is the fourth part of the exception handling video. So, let's start the session. This is the program that we have discussed in our previous video. I am copying that code and paste it into the new file. Now I am just changing the file name. Say for example, exception demo 9.java. I am saving the file exception demo 9.java. Now the class name is exception demo 9. In that I have written public static void main, and in the main method there are two variables, a equal to 20, b equal to 0. And then I have written try, catch and finally block. In the try block I have written this statement, and for the finally block also I have written a print statement, and after that I have written the end of main. So this statement I am removing over here and paste it into the line number 5 now. So when the user will enter any value from the CMD, that will store into the variable b. Okay, so b is an integer variable, and what we have done in the try block, we have written system.exit in the try block, and this integer.parseInt method will convert the input value from the user into the integer value, and that value will be stored into the b variable. So if user will enter any value, that will convert it into the integer. That value will be stored into the variable name as b. Okay, so when user enter any value from the CMD, that will goes to the argument variable, and that argument variable, from that argument variable we are getting that value and converting into the integer value, and then we are storing that integer value into the b variable. So I hope till now you are getting this point. If user will enter a numeric value, okay, that numeric value will be stored in the string variable name as arguments. But what we need to do is we need to convert that string numeric value into the integer values. That is why we are need to converting over here. That is why we have written integer dot parseInt, and argument of 0 means a first argument that user has entered. So that is what we have done in the program, and then we have written a try block. In the try block I have written system.exit. When that system.exit will execute, it will terminate your program, but the finally block will be executed. That is what we have done in the previous video also. So I am requesting you that please watch my previous video to understand what is the concept of system.exit in the try block. So if we write a system.exit in the try block, then a finally block also will be executed. That is what we have done in the previous video. And in this program we have catched the array index out of bound exception. Now I am opening the CMD over here to run this program. To run this program I have opened the CMD and I am increasing the font size. Okay, so here I am just moving to my particular location. Say for example in the D drive I will go to the Java folder. In the Java folder I have the exception folder. Now I am compiling the file javac exception demo 9.java. Enter. File is compiled successfully. Now I am running the file. When the file is compiled, the class file will be created, and the name of the class file will be exception demo 9 over here. So now the file is compiled successfully, and now I am running the file java exception demo 9, and I am providing the input value from the user. Say for example user has entered, so that value will be stored into the b variable, but before that we need to convert it into the integer. So when user has entered any numeric value, that will be converted into the integer part, but if the user is entered any non-numeric value, that system will execute for the exception. So if the user has entered any non-numeric value from here, your program will be raised an exception. Okay, if the exception is generated by your program, there should be the exception should be catch over here, right? So I have written the catch statement over here, but in that catch statement I have written array index out of bounds exception. If the line of code that are written into the try block, say as you can see over here, we are getting an array index out of bounds exception because we do not have provided any value as an input, right? That is why we are getting an array index out of bounds exception in the output, because we do not have entered any value from the CMD. We do not have given any input from the user into the program. That is why we are getting an array index out of bounds exception. Why we are getting this exception in the command in the output? Because that line generating an exception, it is not written into the try block. Okay, so if this statement is written into the try block, then that catch statement will be executed. I am cutting that statement and paste it over here. Now these statements are written into the try block. Okay, so now this statement will be executed on the line number 7. I am writing over here on the line number 6. Okay, so before system.exit, I will need to convert this value to the integer value. Okay, so here the final statement is I am removing that statement, and as you can say, I am writing finally before catch. So it is possible or not, my dear friends? I am asking to you guys. You can give your answer into the comment box. Is the finally block is possible before the catch block? What do you say? What is your guessing? You can answer this question into the comment box. What I have done, I have written my finally block before the catch statement. So I am asking to you guys, it is possible to write finally block before the catch statement and after the try block. Is it possible or not? You can write your answer into the comment box. So now I am compiling again Java C exception demo 9.java. As you can see over here, try catch without try. The error is catch without try. So we have written the catch statement, but it is not possible to write a finally block before the catch statement. Okay, so Java is giving us the error. Say for example, if we have written a try block, there should be a catch block after try block. Okay, so after the try block, it should be the catch block. So now what I am doing is I am removing that finally and make it over here. So now my structure is try, catch and finally. Okay, so this is what we have seen in the previous video also. It is okay, it is working properly, right? So this is also a most important point about the exception handling. Finally block will not be returned before the catch statement, and this will be give us the error. So I am removing that finally statement for now. Okay, so this program I will give you the demonstration for try without catch and finally. So I am giving you the concept of try, catch and finally, where to write and what is the error if you write the finally statement, finally block before the catch statement. So now I am compiling again. It is compiled successfully now. As you can see, there are no any error, right? Now I am running the file Java exception demo 9. Now it is time to input a value from the user into your program. Say for example, user do not have any entered any value. We are getting in the output at least one argument is required and main of main. But what if we have written we have removed that catch block over here, so that finally block will be executed anyway, always, right? That we know, that we have discussed in the previous video also. Finally block will execute always. So what I have done is I have removed that catch block over here, and I have written try and finally block only. But finally block is written after the try block. There is a question also. Is it possible to write finally block after try block directly? You can give your answer into the comment box. There are a very small answer, but it is very important to understand. As we can see in the previous concept, we cannot write finally before the catch statement, but this concept is different. Can we write the finally block after the try block? What you say? What is your answer, my dear learners? Can you guess the output of this program? it is possible to write finally block after the try block directly. So in that we have written the two statement in the try block, b equal to integer dot pass int argument of 0 and then system dot exit. But the concept over here is I have written finally block after the try block. So this is what we have converted your value to the integer and we have stored into the b variable. But the concept is I am now compiling the file. Now I am running the file java exception demo 9 with no any value entered by the user. And when I am press enter, so we do not have handled that exception. That is why we are getting the finally block will executes always. See, you can see in the output the finally block is executed, but the array index out of bounds exception is generated, but we do not have catched that exception. That is why we are getting an exception in the program. So but that finally block is executed. You can see you can write a finally block after the try block. We are getting an exception because we do not have entered any value from the user has not entered any value to your program. That is why we are getting an exception. But the finally block is, you can see the finally block is executed over here, right? So this line is generating an exception, but we do not have handled that exception. But the finally block is executed and we are getting in the output finally block will always executes. So that is why we are getting a finally block will execute always. But what if we are providing input value to this program from the cmd, so that will run properly without any exception. So now I am committing this system.exit. Now I am compiling again and run again with the value 10. Okay, so 10 will goes to the argument variable, and that now and then we have converted into the integer, and then we have stored that value into the b variable, so that 10 is entered by the user. Currently it is in the string value. We need to convert it into the integer. That is why we have written in the line number 6 integer dot parse int argument of 0. So this 10 will goes to the store into the b variable, and there will not be any kind of exception, and then finally block will be executed. This is what the will be the output. Finally block will execute always, and end of main. As you can see in the output, there are no any exception is generated by the compiler now. Okay, so now you can write now I am removing that finally block also. What I have written in the code now, I have written only the try block. So this is also a most important concept to understand. Can we write a try without catch or finally? Right? This is also a most important question, maybe asked into the interview. Can we write a try without catch or finally? What do you say, guys? What is your answer? You can write your answer into the comment box. Now I am compiling the file. When I am going to compile the file, Java is giving me an error. Try without catch finally or resource declaration. You can see over here we are getting an error. Try without catch finally or resource declaration. So you cannot write try without catch or finally or resource declaration. So there need a catch block or finally block or resource declaration for the try. Now I am creating a new file. Just give you the introduction about the checked exception and unchecked exception. So there are two types of exception over here. A checked exception is what we can call a compile time exception. Okay, and it is also called unreported exception also. And there is another type is unchecked exception. This unchecked exception is called a runtime exception. Okay, so please keep this point in your mind. There are two type of exception: checked exception and unchecked exception. Checked exception is of the runtime exception. You can say it is a unreported exception also. And that unchecked exception, we can say it is a runtime exception. If any exception is generated into the runtime, at that time it is called unchecked exception. So currently, what we have covered all the type of unchecked exceptions. Say for example, arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, array index out of bound exception, etc. That is, we have covered in our in my previous video and these videos. This is the exceptions that we have covered in the previous videos and this video. Exception is generated at the runtime when your program is on run mode. When your program is running, at that time the exception will be generated, and this exception is called unchecked exception. So that checked exception over here you can say, and unchecked exception over here I am writing over here to give you the total differentiation. Say for example, checked exception, for example, the exception name of the checked exception is, we can say the name of the exception is interrupted exception. And that unchecked exception that we have discussed till now, this is what we can call the arithmetic exception. It is a unchecked exception. Let me just give you the separation over here. So that arithmetic exception is unchecked exception. Then we have covered a null pointer exception. It is also an unchecked exception. Okay, and what we have covered, then we have covered the array index out of bounds exception also. These all are exception are covered into the unchecked exception, and these all exception we have covered till now, right? So now I am going to give you the brief introduction about the interrupted exception, but with a practical demonstration. Don't worry about it, right? I will give you the concept of Java with a totally practically. So I will give you the demonstration for the interrupted exception also in this video. So interrupted exception is a kind of checked exception. This exception will occurs at the runtime when your program is in run mode. When your program is running, that exception may occur, right? So that unchecked exception and that is the checked exception. There are total two type of exception available in the Java. So there are plenty of unchecked exception available, and the checked exception that we will discuss in this program is interrupted exception. Now what I am doing is I am just let me just create a new file for the interrupted exception. I am created a new file. I am creating a class, say for example class exception demo 10 over here. Now I am saving the file exception demo 10.java. So the file is saved now. Class exception demo 10. Okay, I am doing save as class exception demo 10. Okay, I need to write .java over here. I have written the public static void main over here. Public static void main. In the main method I will start a loop from I equal to 0 to I less than 10 and I plus plus, say for example. Okay, so this loop will continue to the 10 value. In that I will write system.out.println. Say for example, here I will write any string value, say for example MCA Java. Okay, so I am saving the file now. So in that for loop, what I need to do is now for the interrupted exception, to give you the demonstration for the interrupted exception. Okay, now I will use the thread concept over here to give you the demonstration for the interrupted exception. So if your program is in run mode, at that time the exception will be occurs, and that exception is called checked exception. When your program is interrupted by someone, when your program is interrupted by any service, any internal service, any external service, at that time this will happens. I will write thread.sleep over here, say for example 1000. So that thread is a class and sleep is the method of the thread class. So what this thread.sleep will do, it will pause your process for some time. Say for example, here we have given 1000. It means this process will goes into the pause mode for 1 second, and then for loop will be executed, and then another time your program will be in the pause mode. So when your main is executed, In the main I have written a for loop, and in the for loop I have written thread.sleep. So a program will goes into the sleep mode for 1 second, okay, and thread is a inbuilt class available into the Java. So that sleep method is a static method. That is why we can access the sleep method by the class name over here. That is what we have discussed in the previous video also. That you can call a static method by the class name without any object. That is another part. But for now, I will give you the demonstration for the interrupted exception, right? So what I have done over here is I have written thread.sleep. So your loop will execute from 0 to 10. In between, your program will goes into the sleep mode, into the pause mode, okay, and after 1 second your program will be in the run mode. After 1 second your program will be in the pause mode, then run mode, in the pause mode, then run mode. This will be the output of this program. So the mca-java is a string will be printed after the pause mode will goes into the running mode. So I am compiling the file javac exception demo 10.java. Enter. It is okay. Here we are getting an exception. See over here. On a reported exception, interrupted exception must be caught or declared to be thrown. So when I am going to compile this program, Java is giving me an error. It is an interrupted exception. So when you write thread.sleep, it means that your program will goes into the sleep mode. Meanwhile, there is a possibility that user can interrupted into your program, a service can interrupted into your program. That is why that thread.sleep need to be written into the try block. And if you written this statement into the try block, that at that time it is possible to catch the exception, right? So Java is giving us the interrupted exception. Why? Because this program will goes into the sleep mode, and if there is a possibility meanwhile any user can interrupted into your program, any service can interrupted into the program. That is a very big issue. If the process is running and if anyone is interrupting into the process, there is an issue, right? This will create an issue. So to clear that issue, we need to write the statement into the try block, and then we need to catch the interrupted exception for the thread.sleep, because we have written the thread.sleep in the line number 5. That is why Java is giving us the error. So that thread.sleep, I have cutting that statement, and I will write try block. In the try block I will paste that, and I will write the catch block over here also. Say for example, interrupted exception, I will write in the catch block interrupted exception, right? You can write the exception class over here also, but I am writing a exact exception. So now what I am doing is in the catch block I have written, say for example, system.out.println interrupted exception caught. So in the try block, see I am compiling the program now. Say for example, exception java c exception demo 10.java. Here I will write, first of all I will write thread.sleep over here, and 1000 as an argument. Semicolon will be there. So 1000 it is in the microsecond. It means 1 second. So when this for loop will be executed, after the value of printed MCA Java, the program will goes into the sleep mode, and then will come back to your program, and process will be executed for 10 times. So that interrupted exception is caught. Now I am compiling the file. Okay, this is the error, try without catch. Okay, this is the program 9 that I am compiling. Now I am compiling exception demo 10.java over here. Exception demo 10.java, and here I will write java c for compiling the file. Compile successfully. Now I am running the file java exception demo 10. So when I will press the enter, that loop will be executed, and in this loop you can say mca-java 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 is printed, but it is going into the sleep mode, and then the 10 value will be printed into the console, right? So there are no any interrupted exception is generated now, because we have written that thread.sleep statement into the try block, and user do not have interrupted into the program. That is why we are not getting an interrupted exception code message into the console. So that thread.sleep will use to pause your program, pause your process, and your program will be goes into the sleep mode, and then sleep mode, and then I++, and then sleep mode, and then I++. This is what the process is going on into the program, and it is printing the mca-java message 10 times by using the for loop and a thread.sleep. But the concept is there are no any error like as interrupted exception in the code, because yes, that thread.sleep statement may execute multiple times. Interrupted exception will be generated if the user has interrupted into the program. So this is what I have given you the program. Well, now I am giving you the concept of throw and throws. This is also a very good concept of the exception handling into the Java. So that throw keyword, it is used to generate an exception. Here I will write it is used to generate an exception, and the throws statement, it is used to convert compile time exception into the runtime exception. Okay, so in my next video I will discuss these two keyword, throw and throws keyword, by practically. So the throws keyword is used to convert your compile time exception to run time exception. Here I will write used to convert compile time exception into a run time exception. Okay, so in the next video we will discuss about that two keyword throw and throws with practical demonstration. Okay, so this is just a concept I am giving to you. This is the concept that we will cover in our next video. Okay, so that's all from my side in this video. In the next video we will learn about throw and throws keyword for exception handling practically. So stay tuned to my channel, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys.